Everyone is vulnerable to being pinned when life plays hardball, whether it is a physical or mental health condition. No one can stand alone. For those who are not pinned, appreciate that it could be you or a loved one someday. So when you see a chance to help someone, please do. They are not weak, they are pinned. Even a slight hand up and a listening ear can begin seriously lightening the load, change, or save a life. Help end stigma. Move from being pinned to purpose. Time for a hand up.
Hello, everyone. It's Jeff Moore, the founder and host of Pin to Purpose. We have an amazing and special show today. I'm extremely happy to have as our guest Hugo Girard, who has been the strongest man in the world many times. So, an incredible athlete, an incredible human being. He has been a police officer. He's very involved in the media now, and a very inspirational person. And today. We are in Québec. Nous sommes tous bilingues. Ça va être un podcast qui va toucher un peu sur le français, un peu sur l'anglais aussi. Et je suis très, très fier d'avoir Hugo ici comme notre invité. Euh, Juste pour faire souvenir au monde ou pour indiquer au monde qui n'ont pas vu notre podcast dans le passé, le concept de Pin de Purpose, c'est vraiment d'essayer de écraser ou de briser la stigmate qui touche sur la santé mentale. Parce que la santé mentale, c'est l'humanité. Ça nous affecte tous. Alors, en avoir des discussions avec nos invités, euh, comprendre leurs histoires, leurs pensées sur ces sujets et d'autres, on espère que c'est une point de référence pour donner un mais, pour les élever un peu et leur faire souvenir qu'ils ne sont pas seuls. On est tous là. On est tous du monde qui sont, we are cheering them on and to get back and enjoy everything in their life. So, Hugo, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. And
My pleasure.
maybe I can pass it over to you if you want to say a few introductory words about yourself and your background. You have an incredible story, inspirational story, and I'm glad you're not challenging me to lift anything. So.
I'm going to keep it short. I used to be a police officer for Gatineau Police Department. I was a police officer for 13 years. I was also competing during my police career for some time as a professional strongman for many years as well. I won multiple world title all over the world. Got a chance to travel, meet extraordinary people, discover different culture. So I'm a man of the world. I'm a man from a small town, someone who actually believe in his dream, and hopefully we're able to actually achieve some of those. And I'm trying to actually reach others to help them out reach their own dreams. I'm working as a TV host. I'm a podcaster as well. I'm involved in many charity events. So I'm trying to actually give to others what I received from people who supported me over my career.
Oh, that's incredible. And can you tell us a bit about, I've read a bit about this, but it started when you were quite young, maybe around 12 years old or something. You had a dream early, right? To be the
Yeah,
strongest man in the world.
I was, that day was special to me because I do remember clearly, it was a Saturday morning. I'm 12 years old watching TV. We had only two channels at the time where I
Mm.
used to live. So I got lucky on that morning. I was watching Radio Canada, and that was the Héros du Samedi. And it was a strawman competition there. The Défi Mark 10 was held in Montreal. And the athlete who were competing in that contest reminded me of the comic books I was reading when I was younger. So they had superhuman strength, and they were very muscular. So I was quite impressed. So they were real life superheroes. So that's when I decided that's what I wanted to become. So I went straight up to my mom and I told her, I'm going to become strongest man in the world. And she started laughing. But for me, that was just the start of a long journey. It was not done yet.
And when you were 12, did you start focusing only on that, or were you continuing? I think you were playing some hockey. You like to play guitar, I believe. You avais d'autres intérêts aussi. Alors, je sais pas si tu avais jusqu'à...
Yeah, I was involved in many other things, but straight on when I got involved into lifting weights, uh, it became almost an obsession because you see the town where I come from, it was very small, 600 people living there. Having dreams wasn't common there. So for me, it was a way to actually get out of a reality that I wasn't seeing myself in. And from the beginning, I realized that the harder I worked, the harder I trained, the better the results were. And I started by instinct, applying it to pretty much everything I was doing in life. Studying, I was like top of my class because, hard work gave me good result. And the better result I'm going to get, the faster I'm going to get away from where I used to live. So it is very funny because I succeed. I went all over the world. And a couple of years ago, I bought out a cottage back in the village where I used to live.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Right. And I think, Louis Seal, for example, historic strongman of Quebec. And I even remember when I was growing up, I used to see the great Antonio sometimes around the forum in Montreal. And I was always a little worried about him, but he was supposedly a nice guy, but so strong. But I mean, did you have some role models for your journey?
Early on, my idol was Muhammad Ali. I read his biography when I was 14, and I was very impressed by him. Not because of, obviously, his boxing skills, but his resilience and dedication to his beliefs.
Mhm.
So when he refused to actually join the army during the Vietnam War, they strip him off from his belt, his right to box. So pretty much the way he was making a living. They were actually threatening him with prison time, jail time, and his resolve was stronger. So if it would be happening, so be it. That was his attitude, and he stopped boxing for 3.5 years, pretty much restraining him from his best year in his career as a boxer. And I was very impressed by it because following that, I started to think then doesn't matter what's going to happen to me in life. I'm just going to keep on pushing hard, pushing forward, straight on until I reach my goal. And you have no guarantee that you're actually going to be able to reach that high. But the only guarantee you've got is if you don't try, you're never going to get it.
Mhm.
And for me, it's not about trying, it's about doing.
Mm.
And every time I was in doubt, every time I was facing challenge, I reminded myself of Muhammad Ali, what he
Mhm.
went through and what he's been through. So still up to this date, he's one of my idol. Yeah.
Mm. I have to tell you this story because he is an idol for me as well. And I'm not sure if you've seen this, but our logo for Pin to Purpose, the red bike, is partly about him. There's two parts. It's on the website. Uh, I had a chance to work in Ghana years ago, just working with helping out a social entrepreneur, and I brought two of my kids. I went to a market and I bought this little red motorcycle from a garbage picker who was supporting his family. It was made of scraps of garbage. So he put together a beautiful bike out of discarded pieces. And so the analogy is we all sometimes have shattered pieces in our life because of what happens, but they can be put together. The game is not over, with the Montreal Canadiens, the game is over after the third period or overtime. It's not over if it's all sorts of things in the second period. The game is not over when we have our shattered pieces, and it can be put to something more beautiful. But the Muhammad Ali part, the year after, I went to the Muhammad Ali Museum in Louisville, Kentucky with one of my sons. And that's when I heard about the red bike moment, which said, his parents gave him a red Schwinn bicycle when he was about 12. It's interesting. You were 12, he was 12. And he was not a boxer until then. And it got stolen. And he went to the police. And then the person he complained to was Sergeant Joe Martin, a great boxing coach. And so his red bike moment, which is the logo for Pin to Purpose, means two things. It's putting together discarded pieces, shattered pieces in a more beautiful future. And his story about a red bike means, anybody in the world who has a real setback of some type. Like he was so upset about the bike, but it changed his destiny. And without that red bike stealing, it's probable maybe that he wouldn't have met Sergeant Joe Martin, or maybe not been a boxer. So I think it's amazing that he's been such a driver for you. I think he's been a big driver for me. I think he's been a big driver for millions of people. And the other thing I really like is you were 12 and he was 12, if I've got my history right, I think. So that's quite something.
It was actually in his book. I remember that story. So it's amazing how sometimes bad things happen and turn out to be the greatest thing happening to you. It's just a matter of perspective. And that's what a real champion is.
Mm.
A real champion never lose.
Mm.
He just gain for it, learn from it, and gets better.
Mhm.
That's the champion attitude. That's what I'm trying to do. Like every day we have our own struggle. And I love that story. Thanks for reminding me of it. And it's quite amazing, because I can see many example of things that happens to me who actually were means exactly the same.
And I've read that you encourage people that basically anything is possible, right? I mean, their dreams, anything is possible, as you say, if you're willing to work for it. It doesn't mean it always happens, but you can certainly, you can aspire. You work super hard, and so I think that's an incredible thing. And hats off to you for doing that. Because it helps so many people, and the mindset shifts and understanding it's not about doing it alone are so key. I wanted to ask you, and I just realized this is funny. I'm an amateur podcaster, so I only have your first name on the screen, so I don't. My staff of my kids did not fix this for me before this. But anyway, that's a small little technicality. I'd like to go back to as you were working so hard for your dream, and as you got better and better and better, and were winning different levels, because not only were Canada's strongest man many times, North American champion, like world's strongest man. Can you talk to us a bit about also the mental approach you had? Because it's not just the weights, obviously. You've already explained your drive, your determination. It's like, can you make a few comments on that journey as you got better and better and better, and we're moving towards your dream?
Well, you see, like I learned quite early that lifting stones doesn't pay the bill at the end of the month. So I was smart enough to actually realize that I would have to find a way to make a living. So since I was good in school, I was, to be honest, and that's not being bragging, but I was pretty good at everything I was doing. Not the best, but I can only evolve from where you start at. So I made a plan. So everything was about having a plan. So realizing that if I want to make a living from my sport, that's going to be tough. And actually, it might not happen. So, but I still have a dream. And to reach that dream, I'm going to use tools. I'm going to need money. So I was able to actually set up a plan who actually will lead me to keep moving forward in many aspects of my life, to stay motivated. Because most of the problem, when you actually focus on one thing and you don't see the other things around, when you start actually stumbling, then you slow down, you don't move, you stay in place, then you lose motivation, and then you quit. So my way was, doesn't matter if I reach. Obviously, the plan was to reach my goal, and to reach my goal, I knew I had to actually work and resume an ordinary life like everybody else. And but the old time and the old along the way, I never actually forgot about what was my dream. They were just tools to get me closer to reach it. So I became a police officer as a way to make a living. I became a police officer as a way to make sure that if my dream doesn't work, I still have a life.
Mhm, mhm.
So you don't
Right,
actually gamble all your stone on one thing.
right,
Like
right, right.
I spread
Right.
it out. So this way, if something happened, I won't see myself like if I wasted my time or if I lost. It's just, I gave it my best and it didn't work out. Because sometimes it happens in life.
Right.
And this way I was making sure that will give me the mental strength to keep pushing forward. Because then I don't have to rely on others. I was relying on myself because I had a solid plan, and that plan is going to lead me to go as far as I can,
Mhm.
not knowing if I will be able to actually reach it. And that's the toughest part. But this way, it gave me the belief that I could. It gave me the belief that doesn't matter what's going to happen, I won't be in a bad place. I'm going to be in a good spot anyway because I had a career. So that attitude leads me to actually became an officer. I became world champion. And the day I became world champion, I realized that I could do anything in life if I was willing to put in the work and if I believe enough in myself to make it happen. So it's just about knowing what you want, believe in your actually capacity to reach it, and then to work and work. Like there's no secret in life. And actually, for me, that's a recipe and it works pretty well.
I was watching a biography, I guess, and it was showing you with some of your fellow strongest men in Canada when you were training together, and you build friendships outside of the competitions. You're trying to beat, or sorry, that's my bench press again. But if in the strength competitions, you're trying to win. But these are your friends also, right? And so the community, the relationships, and things, I think for our mental health is so important to be connected, because in a solo sport, I guess, when it's all up to you it still takes the community or the village, right?
Yeah, obviously, being a solo sport, it relies pretty much all on my shoulder, but
Mhm.
actually I had a team. I had people, like supporting me. I had people actually helping me out. Of course, my fellow competitors, most of them I was training with. We're all pushing each other to actually reach the best that we can be, and I believe, like by doing so, you inspire others to actually push themselves too. Because you actually teach them the way, you show them also that it can be done. And like I said, like I'm just like them. I'm part of them. So for me, every time I see someone who succeed, it inspired me because it's give me actually push the belief that I can too, and we all can. We just need, as you mentioned, we have to think as a community, which we sometimes losing those values. We become a individual, whole bunch of individual in a society where all have to work together. So sometimes it doesn't work out. Like we forgot then along the way, then we're stronger together than we are individual. So to me, when I started lifting weights, it was a way. I was living in some kind of a chaos world where I had no control on anything. Your parents control everything. I was 12 years old. We had the little means because we were quite poor. But when I started training, I controlled the way I was doing it. I was controlling the intensity which I was training. I was controlling everything around it. I was very structured, very disciplined. Nobody taught me those. I developed them because I got control finally on something, and that something gonna lead me somewhere. And I'm just trying down the road to be an example, to be someone, to be the one I would be looking at if I was back as a kid. Like I'm trying to be the dad and I would have loved to have with my son. Like just trying to be the best that I can be in everything. So somehow along the way you touch others. Then along the way you inspire others as well. And I think we all have not the capacity, the potential to actually be that person. We just need to believe and do. And that sometimes doing it's quite tough. And in those tough moments, that's what you need to actually rely on your value, beliefs, and not quit on it. And sometimes it's tough because we go through bad patch when life gets tough, and life is not easy. There's nothing easy in life. So and sometimes being tough and being strong it is tough. And you got to be strong. Actually, you got to be strong to go through life, but you got to be strong also to go reach out for help
Yes,
when
yes,
things get
yes,
tough. And
yes.
people sees it as weakness. It's not weakness. It's being smart. It's being strong. It's correct to put a need out. And
Mhm.
sometimes we all do actually. But you know what? You reach out for help, and there's always a hand there who's going to actually grab yours and pull you up. And let's go forward together. I believe in those values.
That's beautiful. No, it's huge. It's such an incredible message because obviously there are always people out there struggling, and that's the goal of this podcast is to reach those people that are in that period right now, to hear the message that you just gave, to remind people it is not a sign of weakness at all. It is a sign of strength, and it's part of our common humanity. Mental health is health, and there's absolutely no shame. We all can be pinned. That's the small little analogy I'm trying to do here. We all can be pinned. You can explain it in 1,000 different ways, but I'm so glad that you make that extremely clear, because for anybody listening right now who needs to hear that, there are tons of people who care. There are tons of ways to get a hand up. You're not weak. You're in a weakened state, and you have a great future ahead of you, but you can't do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. So thank you for sharing that, Hugo. I wanted to ask you, I watched some videos too, and I know you were able to lift cars, and you've pulled trucks, and you've pulled planes, and I'm wondering what that was about. This is a bit of a joke, but I thought it is a joke, but I thought, when you were a police officer, I wonder if you were ever tempted. There was an illegally parked car, so you could have moved it yourself and just said, "This guy is illegally parked, so we're going to take him out of there." But anyway. I just wondered what it was like to be able to be or strong enough to do all of this. Incredible.
As a police officer, the funny thing, I was working like I was the weakest person on the department. So that
Mm,
was a way to prevent myself of using my strength in an arm's way. Because sometimes it will be easy to use it, and sometimes it leads you to abuse it. So let's not forget that being an officer, by law, you got powers. Then you get tools, you get training, you get knowledge. And I always thought that the strongest part of your body is your mind, not your body. And we all forget, sometimes, like we look at people, like with the 45-pound bench press challenge, obviously, for me it's light, but for others, it's heavy.
yes, yes.
But the real strength is not how much you can lift. The real strength, and to start from what you can lift, to lift more weights, more reps, and move forward. That's strength. You know, I met people, they were physically probably stronger than me, but they had weak mind, which allows me to actually be stronger than them in competition because they didn't believe. So it's very funny how beliefs can lead you to go
Mhm.
further and to push you to reach higher ground.
Mhm.
But you must believe, and to believe, you need something. You need to have a goal. You need to have a dream. You need to have something. So, to be honest with you, being strong, my biggest strength is not my body. It was not my body. I'm not the man I used to be, but it was my mind. And last year, I did a documentary on andropause, and through the process, I met a doctor which is specialized in functional health. So we had a 4 hours meeting to go through the process, which was quite long. And to be honest, I was quite impressed because some of it has to do with mental health, some of it has to do with your life habits. And by the end of it, she looks at me and she told me, Hugo, you know what? She's like, you do everything right. So I was quite pleased with it. And then she said, you do everything right, but everything you do is just too much.
Mhm.
You do too much of everything.
Mhm.
And it shook me because all my life, I tried to push as hard as I can in every aspect of my life because I saw it as the only way to have success and reach success, which I did in some ways. And then you realize I could have been easier on myself because sometimes it's tough. So I'm way tougher on myself than I am on others.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it made me realize then actually in that point, because most of the time we have more capacity than we actually can give because we actually break mentally before we break physically. And she made me realize, and I probably reached that point where my mental was stronger than my physical body. So then I realized, I was harming myself for a long time. And I was just disappointed to not have that conversation when I was 30 years old. Things would have been much different. And that meeting leads me. I give conference on it now, but it leads me to realize then we the mental aspect of the human person is downplays a lot
Mhm.
because we actually feel and see it, and when we actually look up for people for this physical comfort, sometimes we forget then the place where they need the most help is
Mhm.
mentally.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting because I used to play rugby and I had a couple of concussions, and I think of it in my own mental health challenges. I think of it as like my brain was a bit foggy and concussed and I couldn't be clear. And so it's like when you say putting a knee down is fine in sports, it's understandable. If you're injured, you have to get off the field, you have to heal, etc. And it's the same thing. People, I think, who are weighed down, their mind is not as clear. They have issues to deal with. They're not their best self, so they need to get the help and be able to talk to at least somebody they trust so that they can get back there. And as you say, that the self-talk, I've heard the good quotes like, if any of us were talking to a good friend who had problems, you would be very empathetic. You would try to be a good listener. You would try to help, but then we tend to be much tougher on ourselves. Like you say, if you could talk to yourself as if you're your best friend, then you would give a better advice or more kind advice. Because we have to live with ourselves 24/7. Every human being we're always here. So ideally, we should be our best friend. And as you say, like our competition should be with our future selves. Can we get better, and can we chase our dreams and our goals? And if we need the help, there's zero shame. Um, yeah.
I totally agree with you. Like at the end of the day, when you get older, you get wiser, and then you realize, like, yeah, I'm okay with what I've done, like competition wise. But the main thing is trying to be the best person that you can be.
Mm.
And being that person, being a champion is not about winning trophies. and winning competition. It's about talking like a champion. It's about walking like a champion. It's about eating like a champion. It's about sleeping like a champion. It's about dressing up like a champion. It's about doing everything like a champion. And the way that people are going to look at you, they're going to see what? They're going to see a champion. And that's what real champion is. And sometimes you don't have to compete because life itself is a competition. And sometimes, like we feel you're strong, doesn't matter. The most weight that I had on my back were not weight that I put on a bar. They were weight that life threw at me and had up and put that weight on my shoulder. And actually, you reach a point when you're going to break out. Just too much weight.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to release that weight. And then you don't see any exit. You don't see any ways to actually get that weight off of your back. That's what you need to reach out. You got to give yourself perspective. Like I always mention, if you actually stand against the wall and you look forward, the only thing you see is a big patch of colors. That's the wall. But if you take a couple of steps back, then it gives you perspective. And sometimes that's what happens. Too much weight on your back. You don't see the light. You don't see any exit. You don't see any way to actually release the pressure. And you don't take that step back. And that step back is reaching out, talking to people, having someone who I was smart enough to realize then having a psychotherapist will help me out as an athlete. And then it did. And then I realized it was also helping me out to be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the person I have to live with throughout my whole life, not the athlete, because there's life after sports. And for a long time, I thought that my sport was what will be defining me. And to be honest with you, I pretty much forgot about everything that I've done in sport because life brought me way other things where I can actually fulfill my full potential and having a more positive influence on people around me.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's incredible. I wanted to share a tiny story and then ask you a few more quick questions. And I have this on my website, and you may have seen it, but I have my the cousin of my dad. One of the cousins of my dad lived to 105 years old, and I spent time with him when he was 105, asking him about his secret to success, to life, right? And he would say he had a daily routine. He would do weights actually, but they were like 1 pound, but he would do it every day. He would eat raisins and he would read jokes and laugh and all of this. But he also woke up every morning and looked in the mirror in the old folks' home and he said, every day, "Oh, good, you're still here." And then he said, "Happy birthday, Alf," every day. So he was reframing, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because, I'm in my 50s. I believe you're in your 50s. I know that what we say to ourselves, some people say, "Oh, it'll never be as good again," or "I'm in my 50s. I can't believe I lived this long. I guess I only have a few more years left." Absolutely not. Your mindset, uh, can lead you towards your dreams and your goals. And there are people who live to 105 or older, and so and he wasn't taking drugs for that. It was a natural high. Like every single day is an anniversary of your birth, my birth, everybody everybody I know, but we celebrate once a year. So he was giving himself the same feeling we give ourselves once a year every day. And he was bugging the guys who are 97, 96. "Come on, get up, let's go do something. And I just want to throw it out there because you are an incredible inspiration, and you tell people what's possible. I think it's important that we learn and respect from our elders. Sometimes they get a bit isolated in society, and we don't put as much value, but they have so much wisdom, so much experience, and they can teach us dignity as we get older, and not to stop our dreams and say, like you just said. It's incredible. You are the strongest man in the world, but now you continue doing incredible things, and you don't even think about it as much. Like people who when they retire or leave a job or have an illness, they have to just remind themselves there's a future, and we're not limited. that, God or whoever you want to believe in is going to make those decisions. But as long as we're here, hopefully, we're not, we don't define, okay, it's there's nothing after 50 or 60 or something. So I'm going on a little bit, but I want to throw that out there in part for the listeners too, because I think it ties into, the incredible messages you're giving to inspire human beings to dream at all stages. Um, so
You know, the good thing, the good thing and the bad thing. You know, we don't know how much time we've got. We don't control it. What I control is what I do with the time that I have, and the time is now. And every day, it's quite a nice story. Then you just told me about that man. Every day he's wishing himself happy birthday. To be honest, every day is a good day because every day you get the chance to start brand new and make something new or make something more and just keep moving forward. You got the time, you got the chance to change what you don't like, to start again. It doesn't matter. It's a brand new day. So, and you have it every day. So imagine if every day of your life you're lifting a quarter pound more.
mm,
After 50 years, how much weight than you're lifting, how
mm,
much
mm,
stronger that you get.
mm, mm,
So that's how you build a mindset. You're not looking at your failures. You're looking at what you achieve.
mm,
It's just a matter of perspective. And you're right. Like at 50 years old, you're not the man you used to be at 40, neither at 30. But you know what? I'm going to be the best version of myself at 50.
mm, mm,
And I'm going to be the better version of myself at 60.
mm.
So it's not about who I was, it's about who I am.
Very good. What a great way to frame it. Yeah, what a great way to frame it. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. I wanted to ask you quickly, in terms of what you're doing now, your podcast, your television, your speaking, all sorts of different things. You know, can you talk about some of the things that are really bringing you joy and, you're meeting and inspiring so many people? Um, if there's other things you wanted to share with regards to, now.
You see, the podcast is called Sans Limite, No Limits, because it's pretty much defined me. It's funny because when I was younger, people were telling me how pretty much everything that I was looking forward to were impossible. You would not reach it, even my own family. Then once you start reaching those goals, then the funny things, people perspective change. And that's what the podcast is about, meeting ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. Learning from their own experience, their own success. It does inspire me, and hopefully it will inspire others to reach their own full potential. That's the main thing. I also give conference. I got motivational conference, safety, safety security conference. Uh, I have one on functional health and also intimidation.
Mm,
So I'm trying to use my own experience to actually inspire and help others, you know, to deal with tough patch that they have in their own life, and I think
mm,
it gives me a purpose,
mm,
and I do believe in that purpose because it was good for me. And actually, I'm receiving pretty much every day uh, message from people and thanking me,
mm,
which, to be honest with you, I have nothing to do with it because at the end of the day, I'm just being the spark sometime
mm.
to start up the engine and to
Yeah,
get them actually realize.
right.
And on that day, when
Yeah,
they woke up, then they're gonna become a better, not a better person, a new person, sometimes a new version of themselves.
yeah, yeah.
And it's nice to see then you can actually just make them realize. And that's my purpose in life, trying to be the
Mm,
best that I can be and trying to inspire others to be the best that they can be. And imagine if we were all doing it,
mm,
our society would be way more
mm,
different.
mm,
You don't wait for the people to do the job that you have to do yourself.
mm.
You do your part, and by doing your part, you're going to inspire others to actually do their own part.
Mhm.
And when they all push in the same direction, that's where we actually realize amazing things. Life is
Some-
good. Life is good.
no, that's incredible. Hugo, je voulais vous remercier infiniment. Je suis certain que les histoires que vous avez partagées vont aider et inspirer beaucoup de monde. Et puis, comme vous avez souligné, pour le monde qui regarde ça et qui sont déprimés ou qui ont l'anxiété and other mental health challenges or conditions, it's a sign of strength to not carry it all on yourself, to speak to somebody you trust and to realize that people care and there are better days. And it's tough, but it's been an honor and a pleasure. I really appreciate you joining us today, and thank you so much, Hugo. Merci pour cette conversation.
Ça me fait plaisir.
Merci.